So again, good evening to all of you, and
Good evening, ma'am.
luckily I have Jason and
Good
Jerwin,
evening, ma'am.
and the rest will just see the posted video. Okay, sa pa na. O si Ivy Joy naka-join. So it's alright. No, kasi we will just be quick as possible. And last time we talked about already this one, the writing style and sample na review paper, the writing style for a journal. So most probably you're going to use this, or depends upon you, know, you can choose on the journal that I have actually posted here in the finals. So in publishing a journal, na presentation like this one, wala din siya naka-ano. Bye. Where are you going?
Evening, Ma'am Din.
Evening. So merong mga instruction to authors here. So you can just check sample ATR publication, ATR house, sample submission in other journals, no? You can just, anyway, we will still concentrate in here. So we will talk about sample research paper and EUP report. No, after that, then we'll go to the book maybe next week. No, one by one. These are the books that we're going to talk to ano naman to, this one. Pero we are done mostly of this chapter, so we will just choose which one ang hindi pa natin na-discuss. So going back here, so you can, I posted already about last topics na discussion. So for now, let's compare about research paper na sample at saka yung EUP report. No? Pag sample na research paper, this is, the sample research paper is para siyang thesis type, no? Medyo kompleto siya, pero this sample I gave you is more on ano kasi siya pang journal, and this is actually under review and under submission sa research journal ng RNC. So ito yung ating ano, and this one is the one we actually submit, no, for reports sa Fertilizer and Pesticide Authority, although magkaiba silang study. So in this study sa FPA protocol EUP, or experimental use permit report, so for instance this is entitled growth and yield of pechas as influenced by full-on liquid fertilizer. As you notice, simple lang naman ang mga ano, no, efficacy trial lang kasi yung mga studies ng FPA, and that is because we are just, etong mga chemicals na ito, itong FOLF or full-on liquid fertilizer, are actually being used in other countries. But for it to be for sale or distributed in our country, here in Philippines, it has to have undergo the registration process, and that includes the experimental use permit na kailangan i-assess ng isang accredited researcher like Sir JP and me kung yung ano, yung efficacy niya, and ito na nga ang result. So last time nakita ninyo, pinakita ko kung ano yung protocol, research proposal for EUP, and now you will also see the result na. So of course you have the project title, sinong funding agency. So this has been funded by the JJAA Agricultural Products Trading. So they have this product for distribution na, and yung proposed location is within Tagum City for a duration of 2 months. So in the abstract, you will see here the aim, no, of the study, the a little of the methodology, so how many the duration of the conduct of the study, and the location, and then the experimental design, which is carried out in randomized complete block design, RCBD, kasi isa itong field experiment. So usually ang FPA is doing field experiment only, no laboratory. So it is composed of 6 treatments which are replicated 3 times. So we have treatment 1, which is the control, treatment 2. And this one, if you notice, I discussed the protocol before. So this protocol is, these treatments are based on the protocol I have presented to you. And each kind or type of fertilizer has its own treatments or protocol. So again, yes, I will show you naman the methodology. So in your abstract, you will mention talaga the 6 treatments, and then ano yung mga data that you have gathered, and how did you analyze it using analysis of variance. So most of the researches, experimental and even social or descriptive research are analyzed using analysis of variance, for plants and animals. So and using for comparison, we use the honest significant difference test, or HSD. So if you remember last time, we I directed you to the before um to the book nung statistical analysis. So nakalagay doon merong LSD, HSD, DMRT. And I have explained to you anong gamit ng LSD. Again, yung LSD pag less than 4 treatments lang. Pag more than 5 or 6 treatments and more, you use HSD, and DMRT is actually discouraged because of its napaka-less conservative siya compared sa ibang comparison. So, and then after the first paragraph showing the methods, the objectives, the background, so you're going to present the results. Now, what happened to the growth and yield? Was it statistically or significantly affected? So it showed that it was significantly affected in terms ng plant height, fresh weight, dry weight, yields of petchy, but not leaf length. So NS ito, yung mga width, number of leaves, and root length. So this study indicated that yung treatment 6 or the combination ng recommended rate ng NPK based on soil analysis at saka yung recommended rate for registration of fertilizer, which is FOLF, and also treatment 4, which is 0.5 lang ng half ng NPK but full recommendation ng FOLF, they increase the plant height of petchy up to 29%. So it's better that you come up with percentage so the readers are more specific, no, kung at mas sila, mas madali nilang maintindihan. Kaysa when you mention nga the height of petchy was increased to 8 centimeters, something like that, no? Or fresh weight. And then higher dry weight up to 3 times higher and yield up to 4 times higher than the control or without application at 30 days after transplanting. So napakalinaw. And when you say it was comparable to the rest of the treatments except for the control, so it big sabihin, ang T1 natin ay yung control, so yung T6 is statistically, pareho lang siya talaga sa T2, 3, 4, 5. No? And so you will have here a somewhat summary, or not really conclusion, but parang summary or yung ang result ng analysis ng result mo. So this implies that application ng FOLF can reduce the recommended na NPK fertilizer application, since this is for foliar fertilizer, and into half, no, pwede mo siyang i-raise down into half para ma-achieve mo yung higher weight and yields of pechay. So this is just a sample abstract, which is just the same when you go to the abstract of a full research paper. No? In here, meron tayong objectives, although hindi na mention masyado dito yung location and duration, no? But the objectives is very important, and also the design. This is in complete randomized design with 7 treatments replicated 3 times and 10 sample plants per replication. So, kung bibilangin mo yan, 7 times 3, 21 times 10. So, nasa 210 plants ang iyong kukunan ng data. So, ano yung mga treatments? Again, these treatments are not based on FA protocol, but this is based on what is suggested by the panel, or what is suggested based on the literature. So like for treatment 1, always control na siya untreated, and treatment 2, like ano ba yung conventional practice usually sa nursery ng tissue cultured lakatan, since it's one of my expertise, so usually nasa 5 grams, no, ng per bag. 5 grams of complete fertilizer, or mostly urea, mas okay siya, especially if it's still growing, kasi it still needs a lot of nitrogen. And treatment 3, itong stimulate, malalaman nyo later kasi it should be described in your introduction and in your review literature. Pero in here, hindi ko nilagay ang review of literature kasi this is for publication na. No, but then in real thesis, you need to put on your review of literature. But actually, in your introduction, in the journal form or format, actually ang review of literature are summarized na in your introduction. Kaya may mga madaming authors dyan. So going back dito sa ating so the different treatments, so ayan, and Bioforge is another, then meron tayong treatments na only stimulate and only Bioforge, and plus conventional practice, and the combination of both at combination ng 3 practice using stimulate, Bioforge, and conventional practice. So again, we analyze using ANOVA and HSD, and then the statistical result, therefore, ano yung significantly different, ano yung NS. And now you present the result. So based on the result, yung combination ng tatlo or treatment 7 daw yung nag-increase ng plant height by 2 times, leaf length by 4 times, width of leaves by 7 times, and number of leaves by 50%, and number of roots by 80%, and 3 times fresh weight by 3 times, dry weight by 33 times. So can you imagine nga ganun siya ka promising? So although we analyze the economic analysis, but yung as needed, no, but in here we did not include the economic analysis kasi mas mahal talaga yung combination ng tatlo, no. But if you are into the growth, no, this is very scientific without accounting sa kanyang economic analysis, no, or sa sales ninyo. But if in reality for the farmer side, we need to consider the ano. Kaya kung pag meron siyang comparable na mas less ka ng gasto, so doon ka na sa pare-pareho lang ng effect. So, it was also daw found, so ang comparable daw dito sa treatment 7 ay treatment 4, yung dalawang combination ng stimulate at saka conventional practice as well as Bioforge, and both without CP or conventional practice. While yung T1 o yung control ay comparable, pareho lang ng effect sa T2 and T3. So, if mamahal ang T7, so you can use T4 or T5 or T6. So yun yung what is expected in your abstract. Now, in your introduction naman, you have, again, it's the same also with the review paper that you are going to introduce about the product. What is the product? So mostly, madaming editors ng journal which do not actually accept this, like when you state your reference, ilalagay mo lang dito yung whole website, although it is accepted in some, but in some or most of the authors, especially if they are into novelty, they want a real that you cite a real experiment and with a specific author on it at saka year, like Eroy 2019. And even Eroy 2019 is not even published, and they would require you to only select references that are actually published or with the ISBN or the ISSN, or mas better kung accessible siya through the internet. No, meron siyang, this is accessible through the internet, but in this case naman, depende talaga sa journal. So you can use a website, no? Or usually kung may author siya sa website, you use the author, and then sa reference mo na ito, ilalagay, then you just write retrieve what year, no? Like retrieve 2020 kung last year mo siya nakuha sa internet. So it is also, so ito, there are two references here, Eroy and the growswitch.com, which talk about the full-on fertilizer. So, and as now you have introduced na the full-on fertilizer. So, you will also back up with ay nagamit na pala ito, previously studied by and reported that there was an increase in yield and petcha using FOF by this author. Kasi second trial na ito. No? But in this case, hindi published yun sa kanya. So the yield was improved and so on. And you add more like for example, although these are actually just my studies, no? Various fertilization techniques and foliar supplements have been done to maximize yield and growth and establishment of various crops. So ayan, naka-enumerate lahat ng mga authors. Although most of it are just my publication. So sometimes you can do that, but you should include also general references, no? Dili kay imuha lang punta ng kanang pangalan, no? Si Fernandez Rapanan, no? So it's also unethical. So this study was therefore, in the end, you state, you can even add more if you want, no, about this is about, again, Pechay. So you can also add here some more about Pechay. But in the EUP kasi, in the FPA na result, they are not so particular na sa crop, no? Kasi unlike dito, no? Dito, if you go to the introduction, ayan, this is entitled Growth Performance of Tissue Culture Cavendish Banana or Musa acuminata Plantlets. Since this is tissue culture, so it's called plantlets as affected by stimulate, no? So, Louis is classmate of Sir JP, and saan na ba siya nag-work ngayon? I think kasi taga-kuan man ni siya, taga yung papa sa Napanday ba na kanang sa panabo? Naagi sila sa compound, no? So actually, three of us presented this paper. So I was their advisor at that time. So this was actually, although it's not in here kasi hindi ako nabigyan ng sample na proposal in here, but it was actually funded by Scholar Philippines. So going back dito sa kanyang introduction, so you can see here what about banana and Cavendish banana, what is the production and so on, the importance. So yung author, yung reference ito is Picard or the Philippine Council for Agriculture Research, no, and Development, 1992. So some more about banana by Cabiles, 2007. And then meron din dito about importance of tissue culture techniques, no, by Damasco and Barba. And also the use of, again, since this we use stimulate as plant enhancer or growth promoter. So you will also talk um, about fertilization, supplements, and so on, which is like we have bioorganic fertilizer, rhizocote, vermicast, authored by this following authors. So, and take note that if you enumerated certain authors here, kailangan nandun din siya sa likod ng references. Let's say, Picard or Cabiles. This is medyo mahaba-haba. So, we have here Cabiles and we also have here Picard. So, hindi pwedeng meron dito pero hindi na mention sa discussion or introduction sa content at meron naman doon sa content pero wala sa references. Hindi pwedeng ganon. So, by this time, bago kayo mag-OJT, i-correct nyo na yan. No? In preparation na nasa inyong OJT na OIP or whichever. Or research ba. And then, therefore, then ngayon, ano ngayon, no? Banana. So, ano ngayon? May banana, mayroong seedling. So, may different use ng fertilizer. So, it's also very important. Ano ba? You state what is the problem, like especially kung when your study is about diseases. So, you state the status na low ang yield because of diseases or low ang yield or na hindi naman nabanggit dito, no? Kasi it depends on your writing style naman. So, it's best that babanggitin mo if low ang production because of lower techniques. So, therefore, in quest for more alternative growth enhancers as a promising product like Stimulate will be tested or was tested kasi tapos na ito, diba? Was, dapat past tense na. So, what is Stimulate? It's a yield enhancer, so on. It contains cytokinin, gibberellic, and indole 3-acetic acid. And then the reference, no? Because it's really from Stoller. As you can see, it's still Stoller USA, but right now it has been introduced. May Stoller Philippines na tayo. So therefore, you in the end, so hence you're conducting this study, no, para ma-apply or i-test yung Stimulate. No, you have the materials and methods. So as you can see here, pare-pareho lang naman yung materials and methods. By the way, bakit wala akong objectives dito? Yung objectives, ito na pala to promote the growth and development of banana plantlets, stimulate, and to evaluate its efficacy, no, on the Cavendish banana. And also, but in the thesis form, kasi sa sa journal form na yon. So, kailangan nakaganito ang objectives mo. Like also sa EUP, or FPA, so usually ang objective is to generate bioefficacy data, to test the efficacy, and to determine the best treatment. So, yun yung objectives. But in your thesis or in your manuscript form, you can also say specific objectives like to compare the effect of the various something like that. No, hindi talaga for EUP registration or FDA registration. So, and to know the best treatment and what and more. No, depende sa inyo creativity. So, for the location and duration, ayan, state nyo yan. And take note again, lahat ay naka-past tense. And you also say your experimental design and treatments. So, the study was laid out. So, if you can see, pabalik-balik lang siya na banggit na ito sa abstract, diba? But in your, you should always have this one in your experimental design and the treatments. Yan. And meron tayong ditong naka-table na treatment application or schedule. No? Ilang rate or dose nakalagay and method and timing of application. For example, so sa control, wala tayong in-apply. Sa treatment 2, yung 5 grams, yung in-apply natin na complete fertilizer every 15 days. Sa stimulate naman, 10 ml per liter. Ang ginamit natin for first application, 6 to 24 hours after ka nag-transplant. Second application, 7 days after transplant. So, dalawang beses lang siya in-apply. And so on. Naka-table na yan. And then you indicate how did you take care in the nursery. Like, saan ito na-purchase din. And then, how many months for ready for planting. So usually, nasa 1.5 or 2 months yan after transplanting bago siya ma-field planting or bago siya ibenta para sa field banana production. And then how did you do the potting media with coir dust and vermicast? And how did you do the planting materials? And how did you do? What are the planting materials? No, of course, we use the tissue culture Cavendish banana and the different tools that you use. And how did you prepare the nursery site? So it should have water supply and drainage as well. So dili pwede ba ang saging nga mabahaan. And where did you plant? In a 4 by 6 inches polyethylene. And of course, fragile ang roots, so care should be taken during planting. And how did you care the plant? So it should be protected from direct sunlight, kaya naka-screen siya or naka-shade, and so on. And how did you apply the fertilizer? Of course, based sa recommendation and tsaka treatment. And how many days, no? And watering, is it rain-fed or you use manual watering? And then weeding or yung pulling of weeds if manual. And of course, we need to control insect pests and diseases. And that now, after that, you have data gathered. So going back here sa methodology ng EUP results, so you also have site and duration. The climatic condition is also very important, and you can also, although it's not stated in the other, but you can also make this as an added information. And then of course, the experimental design and layout. So in this case, we use the RCBD kasi field ito. Unlike yung kanina, this is a, we're running out of time. This is a field research. Yung kanina is nursery research yun. So there were 32 petchy in a 30 by 30 centimeter planting in square meter plot. So a total of 100 square meter and 576 petchy plants with 0.5 meter alleyway. And then you should analyze the soil. So eto walang soil analysis sa kanina did here kasi we don't use soil, the garden soil, diba? We only use the potting media na 8 na, ano ba yan? Potting media. 80% coir dust and vermicast na 20%. So if you use garden soil, then there's need to analyze the soil. But for FPA, soil analysis is a must. No? So in the Appendix A, you can see here, kailangan nandito sa appendix ang soil analysis. So ito na yung magiging output ng soil analysis and the recommendation. Okay, so where were you? We are nag-ikata sa so data gathered na ta, but we are data gathered. Treatment. So, ito, based on protocol naman ito. And then you should enumerate the fertilizer that you use. And the rate and schedule of application. And also, like kanina sa nursery, may cultural practice dito. Merong cultural practice from sowing, land prep, transplanting, thinning, weeding, watering, pesticide application, fertilizer application, hanggang harvesting. So 30 days from transplanting, pwede na siya ma-harvest. Now, in your data gathered, in the EUP form, naka-ano siya, based on protocol pa din. So, ang importante lang talaga for petsa is yung marketable yield or tons per hectare, which is computed by this formula. Yield is equal to plot yield kilogram over the area times 10,000 since we're going to get the tons, the hectare, therefore divide by 1,000 since we're going to get the tons. So, but you can still measure the growth parameters for scientific evidence, no? Like the plant height, the number of leaves, leaf length, width, and so on. But in this one, kailangan in the data gathered, no? Naka-state talaga siya thoroughly paano ka na kumuha ng percentage of survival? So, after 14 days after planting, and you just count the alive plants. And for plant height, how did you measure and how many samples? So, you should indicate at 15 days interval, 10 samples and express in centimeters. So, you measure nyo from the base of the plant up to the growing point of the youngest developed leaf. So, for example, and leaf length, fully developed leaves, length ng fully developed leaves, no? And sa pseudostem diameter, we have here, you measure it using caliper. So I guess I have here a photo. Ay, wala dahil naaday sa real na thesis. So usually sa appendix, ipapakita iyan kasi ito for kuan man ni siya for journal na, which is definitely the one that you're going to use for this purpose na requirement. Pero in the thesis, kailangan lahat ng every activity na gagawin ninyo naka-appendix figures na siya. And how do you measure the plant height, the length of leaves, the pseudostem diameter. So yung diameter na may caliper na panggamit, paano yan? I guess makikita ito sa presentation natin next time. I'm going to show you sa finals na under chapter finals. Then the width of leaves is just measuring the width, no? And also again, the how many days interval and how many sample. Also, of course, you just count the number of leaves. And the number of roots are also counted, but isang sample per treatment per replication na ang kinuha natin kasi this is destructive. So you lessen the number of samples. So from 10, ginawang 1. But then you can still do the 10 samples, but it would distract, no, all the syempre, imuhang gikuan. Although pwede nimo itanong balik pero na ano na siya, pwede siyang mamatay. Then the root length, how did you measure it? How many samples? The fresh weight, of course, by using weighing scale. And when at that during the termination or after 2 months. And then dry weight grams. This was done after taking fresh weight, root length, and so on. And then gidry natin ng 110 degrees Celsius for 12 hours and weighed using weighing scale. So ganon. And now, how did you analyze? So usually, in the end, statistical analysis. And using ANOVA, CRD, and HSD. So ganon din dito sa statistical analysis natin. Now, we are now on the results and discussion. So, since we have limited time, so I introduce lang na ako and we will continue next meeting. These are the results for your plant height. So, first, you just mention what is indicated in the table 1 and if you have figure in the figure 1. And you mention, it's very important na meron ba, based on statistical analysis, significant ba siya? And yes, the plant height was significantly affected by FOLF at 15 and 30 days kasi nag-measure ka at 15 at saka 30 days after transplanting. So ano nga na ngayon ang result? So you will state here that treatment 6 daw, let's say, on the table, and treatment 4 have increased the plant height of petchay daw up to 29% compared to the control. So let's say this is now the table 1. Now, of course, meron siyang title and this is now the table. So treatment 6 daw ang sabi and 4. So let's say treatment 6 sa 15 dot and 30 dot A siya and treatment for A. So treatment for ang may pinaka-highest na plant height. No? And kasi meron ding A ang T6, so sa 30 dot A, so silang dalawa. But lahat ng may A dito, actually treatment 2, yung treatment 3 at 5 are comparable. Meaning sila lahat ay highest. But since etong 16, itong treatment 3 ay may B siya, which is kapareho sa control. So, hindi siya pwede masaling, kahit may A siya, no? So, it just means that ang treatment 3 ay comparable or the same, other word ng comparable, ay the same ng treatment, syempre pareho sila AB, no? Ang treatment 3 and 5, this is only for 30 days after transplanting. And since it's my A siya, lahat ng A, 3, 4, treatment 4, treatment 2, ay comparable lahat. And yung comparable naman or the same sa control ay ang treatment 3 kasi may B siya and treatment 5. So, ganun lang siya, ibig sabihin. And in your discussion, you will state that, yun nga, una, and then kanina, kasi I have one submitted paper and then for decade na that I've been doing this presentation na explain na discussion na I always start with the highest. So if treatment for ang highest or treatment 6 ang highest, so ito yung nauuna. Results show that treatment 6 and treatment 4 have increased the plant height. And then here comes the editor. He wanted it na to mention the treatment 1 kasi yun nga. So what happens to treatment 1? So as you can see kasi ang treatment 1 is yung control